the news.
Eurozone finance chiefs are holding high-level talks in Brussels to finally seal an emergency rescue deal for the Greek economy. It follows a formal agreement between the EU, IMF and Greece's government to free up billions of euros in aid in exchange for more austerity. Even though the plan is now expected to be a formality, all 15 Eurozone finance ministers must agree before final approval is given. Despite stiff resistance in Germany to the bailout, Chancellor Angela Merkel says she's now optimistic the German Parliament will give the green light. Greek Prime Minister George Papandreou said his nation would have to make great sacrifices, but avoiding bankruptcy was the priority. The agreement, thought to be as much as 120 billion euros during the next 3 years, aims to stop Greece defaulting and calm question marks over the stability of the euro. Greeks have given their first reaction after news their debt-stricken countries agreed a bailout with the EU. Many are angry, while others fear for the future. What I want to know is, the people responsible for this, are they going to pay? Said this man. It's others that have stolen this money. Are they going to pay? Because it's always the little guy who ends up forking out. Everyone will pay for this woman said. What can we do to change this situation? I foresee and I'm afraid there will be a violent reaction. They will take the new measures anyway, but people will be out in the streets and I don't know how it will unfold. The sealed deal requires Greece's government tighten its purse strings by an extra 30 billion euros over the next 3 years to bring it into line with EU limits. That means further hardship for ordinary Greeks, already feeling the pinch from a series of austerity measures. The bailout for Greece aims to stem a crisis that has shaken the world's financial markets to the core. But where will the latest measures actually fall? A hike in taxes was always on the cards, and VAT will rise by 2 points up to 23%. It follows a similar increase which took place in March. Drivers, drinkers and smokers will also feel the squeeze, with duty rocketing by a further 1/10. No sympathy for those wishing to retire early, with a ban on any such thought below the age of 60. The minimum contribution to qualify for a full pension will also increase to 40 years within the next 5 years. Public sector workers are also set to bear the brunt of the painful economic cuts. A pay freeze is to be extended to 2014. Christmas, Easter and summer holiday bonuses, also known as 13th and 14th salaries, will also be cut. Civil servants' allowances will also be chopped further. Those measures aim to cut Greece's debt by 30 billion euros over the next 4 years. The deficit forecast for this year is a little over 8%, but by 2014 it's hoped that will drop below 3% of GDP. That should bring Athens in line with EU limits. The question now is whether the Greeks themselves will be prepared to swallow the large dose of fiscal medicine. An image of the impending sense of ecological and economic doom many now believe is inevitable. The oil spill from the sunken BP rig off the Louisiana coast is expanding much quicker than first estimated. It's tripled in size in just days, so much so some experts are now warning of a nightmare scenario if Gulf streams carry it towards the Atlantic. President Obama flies to the region today to assess the threat for himself amid growing criticism of the BP-led operation. Bad weather is hampering the cleanup. Many fishermen eager to help are stuck in harbour because of choppy seas.
There's nothing for us to do. I mean, Mother Nature is going to take its course no matter what. And I don't think the way it's spilling into the Gulf, I don't see no chance of them cleaning up the mess. And it could put us out of work for 2 to 3 years maybe, who knows, maybe longer. Because they ain't really telling us what's going on out there. They just telling you what you want to hear.
Much of that frustration stems from a feeling the British oil giant is being vague about its plans to contain the disaster. The firm insists it's launched the biggest mop-up ever. But the danger to some of America's most precious ecosystems is huge, with some fearing the environmental damage could last a generation. Pakistani Taliban have claimed responsibility for a failed car bomb plot that forced the evacuation of New York's Times Square. They said the attempted attack was to avenge the killing of 2 Islamists. The vehicle in which the device was found has been taken away. It had been parked in the city's bustling theatre district during the peak early evening period.
Let me say that we are very lucky. Thanks to alert New Yorkers and professional police officers, we avoided what could have been a very deadly event.
Police defused the device using a guided robot. Described as amateurish, it included propane tanks, fireworks, petrol and a timer. Mayor Bloomberg and President Obama have praised the rapid response of police. The alarm was raised after a T-shirt vendor saw smoke coming from a Nissan. The claims by the Pakistani Taliban were reportedly issued on an Islamist website.
Other news, a German MEP has called for a Europe-wide ban on the burqa in a newspaper interview. Silvana Koch-Merin of the Free Democrats, coalition partners in the government in Berlin, says that covering women openly supports values that we don't share in Europe. The call follows a vote in the Belgian parliament to ban the burqa on security grounds. France is also preparing a draft law for debate in parliament. The first round of municipal elections in Lebanon has begun in a predominantly Christian area, including the southern Beirut suburbs. There's less tension than in parliamentary elections. In some cases, rival parties have built alliances, and the polls are seen more as a competition between powerful families than political parties. One of Spain's best-known matadors, seriously wounded in Mexico by a bull which perforated his femoral artery, has left hospital. José Tomas underwent surgery after being gored in the thigh a week ago. His condition is said to have improved rapidly. At the time, doctors said his life was in danger after losing a lot of blood.
The Turin Shroud has been on public display in its home city of Turin in Italy since mid-April, and now the Pope has celebrated Mass in the cathedral. Many believe it is the cloth in which Jesus was buried, but the Catholic Church has never actually said anything one way or the other on the shroud's authenticity. And on Sunday, Benedict XVI said it reminded people of Christ's suffering. Some 2 million people are expected in the northern Italian city during the 6 weeks the shroud is on view. It's the first showing in a decade, and the first since a painstaking restoration in 2002. Pilgrims filled the Piazza San Carlo with song for the Pope's visit. He was also accompanied by members of the former royal Savoy family, who owned the shroud until donating it to the Vatican in 1983.